You want to know how deep the cruelty of slavery went? It wasn't just chains, it wasn't just auctions. It was a system built to break you completely. They even had a name for it. They called it seasoning, like you were meat to be prepared. That's how little they thought of our ancestors' humanity. Imagine surviving the Middle Passage, weeks in a dark hole, chained to dead bodies, starved, beaten, terrified. You think that nightmare ends when you hit land? No. That's when the seasoning begins. Seasoning was a calculated system. It wasn't just some casual cruelty, it was policy, designed to destroy everything that made you, you. Your language beaten out of you. Caught speaking your tongue? Whipped. Your religion outlawed. Your name? Stripped and replaced with one that they chose. And they knew exactly what they were doing. They sold people in ways that split up anyone that spoke the same language. They didn't want you plotting. They didn't want you comforting each other. They used separation as a weapon and loneliness as control. Then came the labor. Newly arrived Africans were given the hardest, the most backbreaking, most dangerous work. Sugar plantations were called death camps for a reason. Your life expectancy, 2, maybe 3 years? They expected you to die. They calculated that buying new people was cheaper than keeping you alive. The violence wasn't random, it was a system of terror. Whippings weren't just punishment, they were lessons for everyone watching. They forced children to watch their parents get whipped bloody, to learn fear, to know that there was no escape. Violence was everywhere. Women to produce children that would be born into chains, because for the enslavers, that was profit. Your body wasn't yours, it was an asset on their ledger. Seasoning meant that you learned to obey or else you'd be tied down and whipped until the skin came off, or else you'd be hung in front of everyone, or else you'd be sold even farther away from anyone that you ever loved. They broke people on purpose because they knew that terror worked. In South Carolina, they brought the Africans straight off that boat and seasoned them right there. Virginia traders, they boasted about selling country-born, well-seasoned people, meaning that they were already broken in. Even the so-called kinder Upper South, they sold the lie of seasoned labor, as if that were better than fresh human beings fighting for freedom. The ads said it openly, prime hands, seasoned, like livestock, like you weren't a person at all, just property made tame enough to work, without fighting back. This is the part they leave out of the school books, because it's not just about chains, it's about erasure. It's about destroying heritage, breaking families, making sure that your children didn't even know where they came from. Because if they didn't know who they were, they'd be easier to control. So yeah, when you hear people talk about slavery like it was just unpaid work, like it was just some unfortunate chapter, remember seasoning. Remember the calculated violence, the forced forgetting, the systemic destruction of culture, language, family, and spirit. Because that wasn't an accident, it was the plan. And the wealth of entire nations was built on carrying it out. That's the truth they want you to forget. And that's exactly why we have to say it out loud.
Martin Luther didn't like the Catholic Church and founded the Lutheran Church. Calvin didn't like the Lutheran Church and founded the Reformed or Calvinist Church. Henry VIII didn't like being denied Catholic marriage and founded the Anglican Church. John Smith disliked the Anglican Church and founded the Baptist Church. William Miller didn't like the Baptist Church and founded the Adventist movement. Ellen G. White really liked what William Miller said and founded the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Charles T. Russell didn't like the Adventist Church and founded Jehovah's Witnesses. Joseph Smith disliked the Methodist Church and founded the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormons. John Wesley disliked the Anglican Church and founded the Methodist Church. Some pastors didn't like the Methodist Church and founded the Pentecostal Church. Many did not like the Pentecostal Church and founded thousands of churches like Stop Suffering, Assemblies of God, Light of the World, etc. The evangelical movement came from the Baptist Church, while the born-again movement came from the evangelical churches. The born-again faith emerged in the late 1930s in the U.S., and it gained popularity in the 1970s and 1980s, its golden age. There are now 35,000 different so-called Christian religions, each claiming their interpretation of the Bible is the right one.
They didn't just kill him. They cut off his head and kept it in a jar for 170 years. His name was King Vodou Bonsu II, ruler of the Ahanta people in what is now Ghana. In 1838, he defied Dutch colonial rule. He refused to surrender his land, his people, or his dignity. For that resistance, the Dutch executed him. But killing him wasn't enough. After his death, they cut off his head and carried it across the ocean like a war trophy. Thousands of miles from his kingdom, his head was placed in a jar inside a European medical museum. For nearly 2 centuries, his people mourned without ever knowing what happened to their king's remains. His head sat on a shelf, not as the symbol of a ruler, but as an object of curiosity. Generations of Europeans walked past, staring at him like he was nothing more than a specimen in glass. This is what colonizers called civilization. But tell me, what is civilized about severing the head of an African king and displaying it for 170 years? And then, finally, justice spoke. In 2009, after years of pressure, King Vodou II's head was returned to Ghana. His people buried him with the honor he was denied in death. But the scars of that humiliation, the centuries of silence, can never be erased. This was not just about one king. It was about an entire continent deliberately dehumanized. If this story moved you, don't scroll past. Share it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And follow NOIVD for more of the African history they tried to erase.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations one and all. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Voodoo Hoodoo 101. Powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD, New Orleans International Voodoo Day. Our 3rd annual New Orleans International Voodoo Day, May 23rd and 24th, 2026, promises an inspiring and immersive experience with a diverse lineup of engaging events. Highlights include an educational symposium featuring distinguished speakers from around the world, including a delegation of scholars and spiritual leaders from Benin and Haiti, as well as art exhibitions showcasing voodoo-inspired works by talented local and international artists. The event will also feature a children's program and an Afroecology exhibit exploring the sacred nature of plants in voodoo, their role in spiritual practices, and their connection to our ancestors. The weekend will culminate in a ceremonial procession to 9 significant sites throughout the city, locations where the enslaved were brought ashore, held, auctioned, and where they later found community and developed culture. This journey will begin at the transatlantic slave route to New Orleans marker on the moonwalk just behind Jackson Square on the river and conclude with the traditional voodoo ceremony at Congo Square. Additionally, visitors can participate in interactive workshops, community discussions, and opportunities to connect with practitioners and cultural experts throughout the year. We continue to invite your support and participation in this 9 p.m. Central Standard Time weeknights, Monday through Friday, weeknights at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. We certainly appreciate your continued support and participation in this podcast, and we are grateful for our attending participants in our live chat. Greetings and salutations to you and yours, Nina Lloyd. Greetings, Lateria Daniel. We certainly appreciate you as well. Ray Alexander, thank you for your continued support and participation. Greetings, Daniel Neal, a faithful member of our community. We certainly appreciate your continued support and participation. Thank you so much for the super stickers. We certainly are grateful for that. And Ray Alexander, again, we appreciate your daily support. We ask that you will all click the like, the little heart at the bottom of your YouTube screen and utilize the little $ for your super stickers and your emojis. We certainly do appreciate you. And we will unmute our beloved co-host, our brother Joshua Nylan Tanner, my first priest, my armor bearer and wild man of Black Hawk Voodoo, Elder Reggie, known on this platform as Green Soap, and the leader and founder of Shrine of the White Cloth, and my beloved Queen Mother, Sista Toni Val Martinez. We certainly appreciate your continued support and dedication to this platform with all the children and grandchildren and things you already got on your plate and on your schedule. We are continuing the effects of the Nat Turner slave revolt on the health and welfare of 19th century slaves in the southeastern Virginia area and ultimately throughout the South. The laws and practices regarding slave farming varied among countries, regions, and even among plantations. In most of the New World, there were laws that specifically set how slave gardens were to be administered. These laws identified how much land, how much time, and even often went so far as to set out which days should be given to the slaves to farm. The enforcement of these laws was, of course, patchy, with planters and elites often disregarding the laws. The slaves did have a defender in the Catholic Church, whose priests were often the only people pushing to make sure that the laws were enforced. And this certainly would have been the case in the New Orleans area, this Catholic state of Louisiana. And we do know that the enslaved and free populace, but particularly the enslaved, were given permissions to farm and cultivate within the perimeters of Congo Square, again, leading to the development of local vending and other enterprise networks here in the local region. In the United States, there were not formalized laws governing slave treatment as there were in the rest of the New World. The exception was and is Louisiana, which, due to its French heritage, retained the Code Noir even after it was accepted into the Union. While it was not law, it was still common practice in many states for specific land to be set aside, often near the slave quarters, for the sole purpose of independent subsistence and production. It was typical for slaves to be given what were known as Negro plantations to work in their off time. And as Joanne Martin Bozius noted, if the Negroes are skillful and industrious, they plan something for themselves after a day's work. This independent production both freed the owners from responsibility for much of the slaves' subsistence, as well as allowed the slaves to plant food they were familiar with, more nutritious, allowing them on a small but very important level to maintain a sense of culture, heritage, and agency that they would have otherwise lost. Additionally, it has been argued that this permitted for a break in the master-slave relationship that gave the slaves a sense of control over a portion of their lives while still remaining firmly under white hegemony. Savit makes note of the fact that slaves in Virginia also engaged in independent subsistence activities that could have significant effect on their nutritional health. Much of the work of outside subsistence was performed by those who would not otherwise be engaged in plantation work. It was often the old and the young who were able to use their free time to fish and tend the garden. Both of these are activities that require significantly less physical stress than the process of tobacco cultivation, and allowed a group of people to become providers who would otherwise be a drain on resources. The only real caveat to the health benefits of the gardens is the fact that the gardens were typically fertilized with what is known as night soils, often known as human fecal matter. The close contact with this fecal matter, along with poor sanitation, were major factors in perpetuating the cycle of human-borne parasites. This will be discussed in later episodes of the podcast. Some of the best records of what crops slaves produced in their own gardens comes from the account books and business ledgers of the main houses. It was not uncommon for plantations to supplement what was grown in the plantation gardens with food grown in the gardens of the enslaved. Stanton reports in his work, Slavery at Monticello, that the estate purchased skins, likely possum, raccoon, or squirrels trapped in the surrounding forest, fish, duck, hops, timothy seed, watermelons, cucumbers, and Simlin squash. Some of the purchases recorded in Monticello's books were as large as 20 chickens and some as small as 1 dozen eggs. No matter their size, it is clear that purchases seem to happen with some frequency and primarily on Sundays. It is important to keep in mind that more products were likely sold in Charlottesville, making the yield even larger. Monticello is not the only place where this was common. Savit, in a work dated 1984, notes slaves in other parts of Virginia also sold produce from their gardens to both the plantation houses as well as to other people in the area. Mr. Jefferson's place in history, however, afforded his record books special care that most household ledgers did not. And of course, we're talking about Thomas Jefferson, the owner of the Monticello plantation. The general diet found among adult slaves would have likely been quite similar to that of children older than a couple years, although they would not have received rations as great as those for working adults. Parents would likely have diverted food to the children. Slave children would likely have been breastfed for less than 1 year, and supplementation of breast milk would have begun after 2 or 3 months. Pop and gruel were used to supplement the breast milk, but these were both very nutritionally poor. This reduced breastfeeding time and early supplementation would have allowed the mother to more quickly resume her work in the fields and in the house. I'm going to conclude today with slave health and welfare nutrition. Slaves began their lives with an enormous nutritional disadvantage. Records indicate that nutrition for slave children was incredibly poor. This poor nutrition can be seen in many ways, including the fact that slaves had an infant mortality rate 17 points higher than that of the populace as a whole. And between 1830 and 1860, overall, slave mortality was double that of the white population. Both Savit in his work and Kipple in their work report that slave owners had such little knowledge about childhood health that they believed that the shiny ribs and distended bellies of kwashiorkor to be the signs of health. As mentioned above, children would have been weaned too early by modern standards and would have received poor nutrition from the pop and gruel they would have been fed after weaning. There is tragically little data on the specific nutritional deficiencies among slaves due to both the fact that most of their deficiencies and diseases were unknown and to the fact that elaborate data on conditions that would allow for retro diagnosis were not kept. The primary reason for difficulty in retro diagnosis is the records of this time were so vague that most cases could have been one of a number of deficiencies or infectious diseases. That being said, there are nutritional deficiencies that would have had a real and dangerous presence in the lives of the slave and poor free people at this time. And as I begin to open the mics of my beloved co-hosts, I'm going to end with this. These nutritional deficiencies may not have appeared alone, but could have worked synergistically. Among them would have been the previously mentioned kwashiorkor, disease, which is an acute protein malnutrition found among children. This condition is easy to diagnose based upon the shiny ribs and bloated bellies that are the hallmark of this disease, which slave owners often took as signs of health. Furthermore, both Savit and Kipple argue that disease described by multi-antebellum physicians can now be diagnosed as either beriberi or pellagra, thiamine and niacin deficiencies, respectively. Savit also claims that these deficiencies were more likely to occur during the winter, when rations would likely have been shorter. It is also possible that winter could exacerbate nutritional problems, as the slaves would not be able to supplement from their own gardens, a factor that Savit does not consider. And certainly that would not have necessarily been the case here in the New Orleans area, considering we have relatively short winters, if we really have a winter at all, and much more longer tropical periods for growing, not just that which is in your garden, but just the various trees, fruit trees, and vegetation that can be found edible all over the region. Greetings to my beloved co-host, Sister Toni Val. Please do come on in. Elder Reggie, unmute, please. Come on in. And Brother John, greetings and salutations.
Hello, good evening, everyone. How are you? Hey, beloved. Elder Reggie, Brother Joshua. Another thing, when you mentioned about the weaning of the infants, a lot of time nursing mothers, if they had the unfortunate spot of also having the mistress have a small baby that was on breast milk, she had to stop weaning her baby early to nurse the mistress baby, to make sure that baby got enough milk. She had to oftentimes deny her baby. And that's one thing that, make me kind of mad about our counterparts, the white people. Half of y'all ancestors owe their existence to a wet nurse, a slave. Because I saw it written in a lot of different places. In the South, the Southern climate wasn't nice to a lot of the mistresses. And they had all kind of reasons why they couldn't nurse their own babies. But it's hard for me to imagine, the slave master being that ignorant to think those shiny ribs and distended bellies was healthy. What they thought the belly was really full of food, too full. I mean, I know they didn't see their kids who they knew was getting a lot of food looking like that. Why their kids didn't have those symptoms of a distended belly when they knew they was eating everything that the kitchen help could feed them.
It's a good point, Sister Toni. Good night, everyone. Divine Prince, Brother Joshua, Sister Toni, and the collective audience. That's a good point. The picture I was drawing was when we was coming up, they used to always show on TV the starving kids in Ethiopia with the extended belly, the shiny ribs, so fundraising could go forward to try to feed those kids back in Ethiopia. And as Divine Prince was reading that was the image that was drawn in my head. Sometimes I just don't know how the slave population survived. It seemed every force imaginable was working against these people. But for some way, somehow, through the ancestors, through God, and the will to live, and the will to be free, they pushed through all of this. That's what I wanted to add. That was just horrible.
That was because we are the original chosen people. We his. And we went through hardships, but we still here. And like the old folks like to say, by the grace of God, by the grace of the Creator, we're still here and we will be here.
Yeah.
One thing I truly believe, Black folks and roaches will be here long after everything else is gone. What say you, Brother Joshua?
Good evening, everybody. Everybody's up in the listening audience, and Elder Reggie and Sister Toni. Yeah, I mean, we're survivors. We were born. We've been born in conditions that are definitely that was of oppression and of subjugation of a form. But we also come from people who are warriors and are very knowledgeable, very intelligent, very smart, very powerful people. You can't forget about the Maroon tribes and all the Maroon people that I'm sure the slaves utilized, the camps they utilized to escape suffering and escape bondage and escape whatever was being put on their plate, whether it be the food that they was given. I'm sure they went out into the wilderness and met how can I say this? They met with other kindred spirits that helped them survive the struggles that they was facing by giving them medicine and from the American Indians that was here and those traditions that had been here that sustained those people and all the things that they faced also. So I think that we have to look at, when I look at slavery from that point of view, because it's very bad. It's a very traumatic and very trying time that we went through during that time. But we also fought during that time and resisted during that time and was given help by the universe, by people who was here, that had been here, and also by our ancestors that was guiding us along the way. So, yeah.
Yes, and like the divine was said, in the South, it was kind of easier for Southern slaves to find sustenance more year round because of the short winters and the long summers and, all the other months, the seasons.
Yeah,
And we were blessed with so many waterways here that were in proximity to slave quarters and plantations. I mean, a slave didn't have to sit on a bank and actually fish. They set traps in the water that they could go back and check. At the end of working in the fields, they just go there and get what's in there and bring it back. And we are resilient, resourceful people from our ancestors. I mean, look at the Boston Marathon and all them marathons. It's mostly always an African that win that. You can't outrun us. You can't outjump us.
And listen, we have the indigenous people, I'm sure, to thank for our love of crawfish, the home of the Choctaw Indians, who use woven reeds to trap and cook crawfish over open fires.
Crawfish, crabs, Kawain, alligator. Give me a plate. Kawain is turtle. Give me a plate.
Raccoon too.
Oh yeah, give me that too.
Mhm.
I want it all. Make a coonskin hat. I had one when I was young, about 6, and I was scared of it.
Mm.
I wouldn't put it on my head.
Mhm. Sister Toni, Divine Prince read, I never heard of pop and growl, which they was feeding the babies after they weaned them off their breast. You have any idea what that may be? What's that
Yeah,
barley? Was it oatmeal? What was that?
gruel was like a fine grit, like farina.
Okay,
A
okay.
super fine, almost a powder grit that was like the dust off the corn after the corn was processed and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you have that, it's like a farina. That's how I could describe gruel. And added with a lot of water, they could put that in a cloth and the baby could suck on that and suck on that on like a cheesecloth with the little
Okay.
holes and, suck that down. But it's not very nutritious and it's not very good tasting unless you got a lot of butter or sugar or something to put in it. But it's a fine farina. It's a fine grit. I know what they call gruel is.
Yeah.
And it's made and it's almost like soupy grit.
Yeah,
Thanks for
from
sharing
oats,
that. That was a
rice,
neat word for me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
millet, and pap is a paste-like food made from boiled bread in milk or water,
Mm.
often used as a soft food for infants now.
Oh, Divine Prince, what they call pablum. That's
Pap,
basically
yeah, uh-huh.
yes, similar. Okay, got it now. Okay, yeah. That's the one thing I enjoy about our class at night. There is learning. New words come up, new phrases, and it's good to keep the mind open for learning.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't know what pap was, but I can relate that to what pablum is, what they gave them. But like they say, those things within itself might have filled the belly and stopped the crying, but they weren't nutritious. They wasn't getting a nutritious value out of it.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Not really.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know too many people that ate farina when the government was giving it away in commodities, but my children sure ate it because I dressed it up with butter and sugar and everything.
Mm.
Y'all gonna eat this. Oh Lord, I spent the weekend with about 15 grandchildren in a small space. Oh my God.
Sister Toni,
Talk about
you let them
somebody
love
with
on you. You know,
huh?
you let them love. You allow them to love on their grandmother for a little while, huh?
I even got in a few
Yeah.
licks too. They really ragged my nerve when we got to the water park because they all think they know how to swim and don't have a clue. I had one almost drown.
Oh
Aisha's
no.
son, Ty Corey. He almost drowned coming off the water slide, didn't realize he was going to fall into deep water when he hit the water. The lifeguard jumped in and saved him.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
indeed.
I mean, it's always fun when we all get together, but it was a great time. And most of those grandkids I was with was actually great grandchildren. And they called me Granny because they called my daughters Momo.
Mm-hmm.
And when my granddaughter was trying to explain to her 2 kids that I was her Momo, they totally was confused. They was totally confused. Like, how you got a Momo? But it was nice getting together with the family. I'll be back with with my older kids next weekend. We got a weekend thing. My oldest daughter, her birthday, so we'll be somewhere in Louisiana. Because we went to the Indian reservation. We went to Kashada this
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
weekend. And we rode through some roads, and I was looking for Jeepers Creepers. I was looking for his truck, me and my daughter both, because we was on some roads. I'm like, oh no, you talking about? And my daughter kept saying to herself, oh, we passed a lot of fields. And she was like, Mama, can you just imagine if you was riding through here and saw Black people working in these big old fields? I said, yeah, I really can. Imagine that. You know, and she like, oh, there must be so many ghosts out here. We couldn't wait to get back to I-10 highway off of them roads. But it was really nice. Everybody appreciate family, please, especially in these trying times.
Yeah. Sister Toni, one quick question, if I could. Kashada, is that the one going out toward Lake Charles? I'm trying to line it up in my head.
Yeah, it's past Lake Charles. Oh God, it's an hour and something past Lake Charles. Actually, because that's where my granddaughter was coming from work. And she said she worked in Lake Charles. She lived in Lake Charles, but she worked at a casino out there. It's in Kinder, Louisiana.
Okay. Yeah.
It's in Kinder. It's like maybe an hour and a half away from Lake Charles. It's in Kinder. And my oldest daughter always loved to say, oh, it's right by Lafayette.
No.
By Lafayette could mean 2.5 hours away from Lafayette. But I guess that's the area most people know. Everybody mostly familiar with Lafayette. But yeah, we had a chalet out there and 2 hotel rooms. One in the 5 Tribes Hotel and one in the I forget what the Grand Hotel, I think it is. But it was very, very nice out there. The people were very nice. And it just was nice to get away a nice little quick vacation.
Well, I understand. Yeah, the niceness of it. The reason I brought it, because a few times I went out to Lake Charles Way going to Houston, Texas, or Galveston, really. I see the billboard said Kashada, but I have never been in that area.
Yeah.
And I figured that word was a Native American word because the way it's spelled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that was the land they stole from the native people of that area, but they went to court and won a case. So tribe members, actual members of the tribe, well, either they claim to be of the tribe, but they actual members, they get a check every so many months from that casino.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
They get a check, and I ain't talking about no $50 neither. They get a nice size check. My daughter worked with one of the recipients of those checks that they get.
Would that be in the line with reparations for the desecration of the Native Americans, or it's just part of the land grants and rights that was awarded?
No, that's basically reparations for them dishonoring land grants and treaties and tribal lands. And they had to pay that back to them because as so many things, they got it by wrongfully. They got it wrongfully. And one thing I can say about the indigenous people, a lot of them, their children went to law school to fight in the courts to get back what the colonizers stole from them. And not just the ones from the 5 civilized tribes, a lot of smaller tribes have won what you would call reparations. So that's a good thing, and I really did enjoy being out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
But our time has come to an end, and I'm going to turn it over to Elder Reggie to close us out until tomorrow night. Thanks, everyone in the audience, for joining us.
Yes.
And we look forward to your continued support and being with you every weeknight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elder Reggie, take it away.
Yeah, Sister Toni. That's why I love being here. You bring so much wisdom and knowledge and little tidbits and things like that. It makes it work. It just makes it keep going. Even though I know this is we touching up on voodoo and things of that nature, but we still live in life with family and other things too. And all that is incorporated within some of the conversations each night. And I appreciate that. I also appreciate Divine Prince, Brother Joshua, for also, being part of this wisdom that comes forward. But I'd like to give out one announcement before I read our Lest We Forget. And that's our next moon ritual. We're coming up on it soon, prayer and application ceremony. It is on Sunday, September the 21st. It's called a new moon at 6:30 p.m. And that address is 710 Cluett Street in the Bywater area of New Orleans. And it's a ritual spiritual warfare gathering. Those in the listening ear, if you're local and you could come out, please do. We will be there in honor and support of this event and to get a chance to meet you. With that I said, lest we forget, the spiritual medicine of voodoo brings healing and relief from the shackles of slavery that binds the master and the slave to the same chain of social division. With that I said, good night, everyone. Ashe, 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 and we love you. See you tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1804, Haiti became the first black republic in the world, as well as the second independent nation in the Western Hemisphere, just after the United States.
I feel safe in this country, and it's unfortunate that the publicity has been such that people hesitate to come here.
There hasn't been a violent crime here in years. Even stealing is virtually unheard of. In fact, a recent study by the United Nations reported Haiti to be one of the safest countries in the world. The only money you may find taken from you is here, at one of the casinos. But then you do have a chance to get it back, and then some.
I've won about $20–25. I've gambled in many other countries, and I'm really enjoying it here in Haiti.
No matter how you do at the gambling tables, when it comes to sun and sand, you'll be dealt a winning hand. If you like crowded, noisy, hard-to-get-to beaches, you won't like Haiti. But if you want unspoiled, almost deserted beaches that are close at hand, you'll love Haiti. It won't take you long to realize that there is no typical Haitian beach. Each has a personality all its own. To the north is the Riviera of Haiti. It's perfect for swimming, sailing, snorkeling, or just plain relaxing. If you want a more active vacation, you might want to try the Club Med. It has all the sports we mentioned and more. There are also magnificent beaches to the south. Taino is one of the favorite spots. The largest town in the southern part of the island is Jacmel. If you get up early, you'll be able to lend a helping hand as fishermen bring in the nets heavy with the night's catch. Then tell your tales of the ones that got away over breakfast at the pool, served by women in white. And if you enjoy coffee with breakfast, you've come to the right place. When they wrote the dictionary, they should have made Haiti the word for coffee. Coffee is the #1 export in Haiti. But guess what else comes from Haiti? That's right, baseballs. 85% of the hand-sewn baseballs in America come from Haiti. Another big hit is Haitian food. It's French. It's Creole. It's delicious. Pension Craft is a small hotel that has been owned by the Denise family for almost a century. When she's not running a school for underprivileged children, Madame Denise can be found in the kitchen cooking from recipes handed down from generation to generation.
Our secret that we use.
The Santa Maria sank just offshore on Christmas Eve in 1492. It's hard to believe visitors now come by cruise ship or jet. One of the most exciting attractions tourists come to this country to see is way up there. That's the Citadel. It's been called the 8th wonder of the world. After the French were overthrown, King Henry Christophe had this fortress built in case they came back. It took 13 years and the efforts of 200,000 men to complete it. The view here is breathtaking. It makes you feel the fortress really is invincible. This is one of the best diving spots in the world. Under the crystal waters are more than 250 sunken ships and uncounted treasures.
You ready to go?
You bet.
Let's go.
Morgan the Pirate made Haiti his base, giving the port on the southern coast the French name OK. Legend has it that when Morgan returned safely from a raid, everything was okay. Okay. And to make sure you're...
Please, allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy and that might be true. I got this white in my DNA, yet I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the tables, flip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees. It's time you pay for your dirt and your showtime. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation, and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner. Oh, do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she's straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking tough, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Mitch, you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your gas. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He said it, table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, assalamu alaikum. Got them glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit Red. He looks me in my eye and says you only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside. I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because they'll smile up in your face while plotting your demise. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. We are the children of the ancestors that weren't punk bitches.